busy day at the Supreme Court today. The Supreme Court is also likely to deliver its verdict on a 150-year-old adultery law that punishes only a man and not a married woman for an affair by treating her as a victim and not as an abettor of the offence. The centre defended the Victorian law, saying that adultery must remain a crime so that the sanctity of marriage can be protected. After a petition called for the law to be scrapped, it does not treat men and women equally. Now, a 5-judge constitution bench headed by Chief Justice Deepak Mishra had reserved its verdict in August. The hearing in the case by the bench, which also comprised Justices R.F. Nariman, M. Khalvedkar, D.Y. Chandrachud, Indu Malhotra, went on for 6 days and had begun on August 1st. The centre had then said in the court that adultery it is publicly wrong, which causes mental and physical injury to the spouse, children and the family. It said, and I quote, "It is an action willingly and knowingly done with the knowledge that it would hurt the spouse, the children and the family. Such intentional action which impinges on the sanctity of marriage and sexual fidelity encompassed in marriage, which forms the backbone of the Indian society, has been classified and defined by the Indian state as a criminal offence in exercise of its constitution powers." In court, it said. The top court had also questioned the government how the law preserves the sanctity when the extramarital affair becomes non-punishable if the woman husband stands by her. And for more on this, going across to my colleague Rishabh first. We also have Vandana Sebastian Bawa joining us. But Rishabh, coming to you first. Now, this really is an old colonial law which basically means that the woman is a victim, and it really rakes up the whole debate of gender equality in a marriage then.
See, if you see the whole 497, the whole argument that has been placed here in the apex court, the Ministry of Home Affairs, when they were asked to reply, said that this law cannot be, we cannot do away with this law because this preserves the sanctity of the marriage. And in India, the Indian society, sanctity of marriage has failed to reply is how only a woman is responsible for, ensuring the sanctity of marriage. Because if you read section 497 with second clause of 198 CRPC, it says that if a man finds out that another man is in, has some illegitimate affair with his wife, he is he is open to go to court and actually get the man punished, not the woman. But on the other hand, if a woman finds out that her husband is in a legitimate relationship with some girl or some woman, unmarried women, there is no provision that the lady can go and knock the doors of the court. So definitely when we talk, it violates Article 14, which is the right of equality, and other sections of Indian Constitution also. And definitely this is an attack on gender equality, which we have been talking about day in, day out in our society. So remains to be seen who wins the argument today and what the apex court will say. But the observations made till date, it looks like that the Supreme Court is in favor of not, going ahead with 497. But we have to wait till the judgment comes out. The judgment will be out anytime soon. It's the first matter in the Supreme Court today in front of the Constitution bench, and the judgment will start at around 10:30 this morning, which is like minutes from now.
Right, Rishabh, stay with us. We also have Vandana Sebastian Bawa joining us. Vandana, before we get into what the debate on Section 497 is, one of the major contentions of Section 497 is that it gives the husband the exclusive right to prosecute his wife's lover, and a similar right is not conferred on a wife to prosecute the man with whom her husband has committed adultery. Help us understand what are the observations that have been made so far in this Adultery Act by the Supreme Court, and what can we see later today when the verdict is out?
Well, yes, it is a gross inequality because Section 497 considers a woman the property of their husband, which is why the husband has exclusive rights to persecute the woman, the man that the woman is committing adultery with. But the same rights are not bestowed upon the woman. If the man is indulging in adultery, she cannot, press charges against either her husband or the woman with whom he is having an affair with. Now, Chief Justice Deepak Mishra, in fact, during the course of hearings, he himself has observed observed that the question of criminality does not really occur. He's already said that there are civil remedies available in case of one of the parties is found indulging in adultery. The civil remedy is divorce, which is available by the court. He said that pressing charges and making sure that the person who the wife is having an affair with is sent to prison for 5 years does not make any sense. However, remember, like what Risha was saying, the centre is of the opinion that the section needs to stay in the Indian Penal Code because of the question of sanctity of marriage as well as because of public good. However, when these arguments were put forth in the court, the court in fact had gone into question as to where is the question of public good in a broken marriage. So a lot of questions were raised. We'll know the answer in just in a short while from now. Remember, activists have been protesting against this law. They've been saying that it goes completely against the concept of gender equality and gives an unfair advantage to the man in this case.
Right, Vandana, thanks for putting that into perspective. And as you rightly pointed out, we are minutes away from that verdict. But stay with us. We also had some reactions coming in. Let's listen in.
Supreme Court today will decide the constitutional validity of Section 497 of the IPC. Joining me is Advocate Kalishwar Raj, who has petitioned to strike down the provision as unconstitutional. Sir, thank you for joining us. What exactly were your grounds for this petition?
We have raised more than half a dozen grounds prominently. One among the grounds has been the provision, both the provisions, 198(2) of CRPC as well as Section 497 of the Indian Penal Code. They are directly and indirectly discriminatory against women. Then those are directly discriminatory against men. And therefore, the provisions do not stand the test of Articles 14 and 15 of the Constitution, which tell about the equality principles of the Constitution. We have contended that Section the 497 treats women as a mere property of the husband by implying that if the husband gives a consent, there is no offense of adultery. Secondly, the wife cannot, suppose there is an adulterous husband having a wife, that wife cannot file a complaint against her own adulterous husband, despite the fact that the grievance of the husband of an adulterous wife and wife of an adulterous husband are qualitatively and substantially one and the same. But therefore, there is a situation where only the man can file the complaint. The woman cannot even prosecute. So it happens that in a vexatious case, in our country, you know that there is no kind of advanced, developed family lawyering and all. Very often in matrimonial disputes, people go by instigations, by malice, by other kind of extraneous considerations. Then very many claims for mere maintenance, etc., are defended with a prosecution for adultery. It's a misused provision. So it so happens that even when a wife is tagged along with a man, very often on the basis of suspicion, that wife doesn't even become a party to the prosecution, to the proceedings, so that a lifelong stigma is cast on her, whereas she is disarmed. She cannot defend herself. She doesn't have a locus. She doesn't have a say in the court. Therefore, in all respects, this is anti-woman. This is the prominent ground which we have taken in the writ petition. And in all other respects, broadly speaking, this is a question of individual's liberty. Man or woman have their freedom of choice. And in all kind of bad acts, infidelity is no doubt bad. But state cannot send a person on the ground of infidelity or any immoral action or any bad action. Any action which lacks morality cannot and should not warrant criminal prosecution. For that kind of criminalization will be quite unprincipled. Therefore, this is a fight against unprincipled criminalization by the state. And therefore, ultimately, this is a writ petition which tries to uphold the individual liberty and for safeguarding the autonomy of individuals. We repeatedly say that we are all against infidelity, but punishing somebody for infidelity by the state is all the more worse. That is the contention.
For all the latest news updates, get the new India Ahead News app available on Play Store for all Android users. Download now.